here's a little bit of an NCAA tournament preview for the Big 12. My big picture take here, Big 12's got its back against the wall in some ways, needs to have a much better showing than last year. Might be easy for some to forget. I mean, hopefully a lot of people tried to forget what happened to the Big 12 last year. No teams in the Elite Eight. I had to do a double take even this year. I lived through it last year, and I had to do a double take this year when going through and prepping some of this stuff, looking back, God, there was nobody. There was nobody in the Elite Eight, man. And that was after a year where the Big 12 was deemed best conference in the regular season, but also then deemed overrated by the ACC, and that started to pick up some real steam. And it basically just seemed to prove the ACC right that you had a bad tournament. Fair or not, that's how you're going to be judged in college basketball as a head coach, and very much so as a conference these days. So it has to be better. And I'll be honest, there is a part of this that I really don't like for the league that I'll get to in just a moment. Here are two things that I do like. One is just Houston in general. Love their team. I think they have a high floor when it comes to March, a high floor because of their defense and toughness. Like in the NCAA tournament, you might run into trouble shooting the ball. Shots might not be falling someday, and that can get you into some real hot water. But if you can defend, defense travels, man. And they're an elite defense. They are second Ken Palm's defensive efficiency. That's going to travel to a neutral floor. That will be there no matter whether the shots are falling or not. And I think if you look at what they've got, I mean, obviously they're playing a 16 seed SAU Edwardsville. And then, people have made a lot about Gonzaga being there as a tough 8-9. Gonzaga is a pretty highly ranked Ken Palm team, top 10 Ken Palm team. I get it. I think it's harder than a lot of 8-9 matchups that you could possibly have, but I don't worry. Gonzaga's been, speaking of up and down, kind of an up and down outfit this year. I think Houston would be fine against Gonzaga. And then what I really like is that 4-5 cluster that they have with Purdue, Clemson, McNeese, High Point. Like, I don't know. I picked High Point to win in my bracket. McNeese, I think definitely could beat Clemson. I think that's a really manageable 4-5 spot there. And honestly, as I looked around the bracket, a lot of the 4-5 spots, I thought, these 1 seeds I feel like are going to be in a pretty good position. And I think we could see multiple upsets in these 4-5 parts of each bracket. So I like Houston for sure getting to the Sweet 16 and then probably Elite 8. And then a matchup with like Tennessee, Kentucky, particularly Tennessee, I think can be difficult for them. But man, get to the Elite Eight, give yourself a shot to get to the Final Four, please. Houston's got to do that, man. Houston's got to do that. Now, the other thing that I really like here is a sleeper pick, and shout out to my guy Clint. We were just talking about BYU there. A lot of the context for that discussion when we're talking about value typically surrounds football, but what about men's basketball here for BYU? And I know that it's a little trepidatious for Cougar fans because things have not gone well in the tournament in a while, have not won a tournament game since 2014, have not been past the first weekend since Jimmer. Remember that guy, Jimmer Fredette, 2011, when it was Jimmer Mania everywhere. That's the last time BYU went to the second weekend. So history is not really on the side of the Cougars. And unfortunately, I don't say this to freak you out. I'm not trying to put bad vibes in the air. I'm just simply pointing out a fact. Last year, as a 6 seed, BYU lost to the A10 champ in a 6-11 game. And this year they play the A10 champ in VCU in a 6-11 game. Now, I think this BYU team is better, significantly better, in fact, as they're playing right now, than last year's BYU team was. So that will help immensely. Okay. Don't come after me with pitchforks too hard here. I think BYU will win the game, but it is a tough draw, and that to me makes BYU kind of boom or bust here. And that's been reflective of what I've seen of like popular opinion of the Cougars. It's been boom or bust. I've seen a lot of people listing them as like, hey, if you're looking for a Final Four sleeper, BYU makes all the sense in the world. But there have also been a lot of people, hey, if you're looking for your 11 to beat a 6, VCU is a damn strong 11. and that would be a way to go. And if you can believe it, the 11 seeds in the last decade of the tournament actually have a winning record over the sixes. It's 18-14 since 2016. So you're actually at a disadvantage statistically in the last decade as a 6 seed playing in this spot and in this game. But there's real legitimate reason, not just that BYU's been just scorching white hot before running into Houston in the Big 12 championship game. There's legitimate reason to be like, oh, well, yeah, of course they could make a really deep run. Just keep that same word in your mouth. Deep. They are deep. BYU is a very deep team. I mean, they're going like 10 deep. Nobody's doing that. This is typically a time where like everybody tightens it up, and maybe that will still happen somewhat for Kevin Young. I guess we'll see. But it seemed like he kind of indicated, no, we're going to keep rolling with what we've been doing. That's you're going to have fresher legs. You've got more options. If somebody's off, it's not like you're relying completely on Richie Saunders. If it's not coming up aces for him, you've got plenty of other options and guys who can go score and just shoot the hell out of the ball. And so, yeah, that offense, I think, also gives you a high ceiling. Now, the danger in that is it's kind of the opposite of what I just talked about with Houston. If the shots aren't falling, you could run into some trouble one day. But BYU also has a very high ceiling because when the shots are falling, they are almost impossible to stop. And it looks pretty and fun and as aesthetically pleasing as anybody for sure in the conference. So I'm leaning toward BYU making a run. I think I've got BYU in the Elite Eight. Call me a homer. That's fine. But I think BYU can definitely make a run here. Now we get to Texas Tech, Iowa State, Arizona. They're all 3s and 4s. Okay, that's a position. They're all in position to really make some noise for the league there. You are positioned well to do that. But the thing that I don't like about this group, and I guess I'll exclude Arizona from this, this is a Texas Tech and Iowa State conversation, and it's a conversation about health. It's a conversation about health. This is not the time of year when you want to be having to wait on a bunch of injury updates and be very concerned about what is going to happen with your rotation here. For Iowa State, I mean, it's already started with bad news. Keyshawn Gilbert's been shut down for the season. He was their second leading scorer, their leading assister. That's 13 points, 4 assists per game. That is just done. Unfortunately, the end of his career at Iowa State, it's a tough deal. Been battling injuries for a while, and he's just going to be on the shelf, not going to play. Then you've got Tamin Lipsey. Now, Tamin Lipsey is going to play, according to TJ Otzelberger, but he's also been banged up for a minute here. So how healthy is he actually? And when you just fold that into the overall narrative of Iowa State's season, I always screw up his last name. Milan, the shooter, the stretch 4 for Iowa State, who's a fabulous shooter, 40% three-point shooter and averaging 11 points per game. He missed time with injury. Now he is back, but it's just they've been shuffling those 3 guys in and out of the lineup and frankly have not been the same since mid-January. When they had peaked in the top 5, they were 5-0 in the Big 12, looked every bit a national championship contender. They're 8-7 in the Big 12 since then, 9-8 if you want to include the Big 12 tournament. So they're like 1 game over 500 since then, which still in the Big 12 is, I mean, that's like tournament quality, but it's not national championship contender quality. And that's what they've been for basically 2 months at this point. It was January 15th when they were 5-0. So we're going on 2 months of Iowa State being kind of this version of themselves, which I don't know has enough to make some kind of really deep run.